Good afternoon. Today we are going to be going through reviewing this Nissan Micra brochure from July 2000, covering the K11 model, also known in this particular facelift as the K11C. Looks very similar to the original facelift, but there are some differences, notably bumpers, headlights, and treatment on the rear end, and more importantly differences to the engine range. So gone is the 1275cc 1.3, replaced with a 1348cc engine classed as the 1.4. The 998cc 1 litre is still present, and those of you that know their engines, and sort of particularly know the A series, will recognise those numbers as being A series capacities, particularly the 998 and 1275. So we start off, and immediately the brochure is going right in for a lifestyle theme, and seems predominantly aimed at, well, I'm going to be honest, at women, which was sort of really the car's sort of core area when it was sort of current. That and the older generation. It was very popular with driving schools as well, mainly because of the excellent all-round visibility and the fact that it drove very, very easily. Now this particular version, I would assume is a Continental version, as it comes with heated seats in the front, which is interesting and not something that we got on UK models. This particular version here is the Micra SE Plus, shown with those alloy wheels and the starburst silver paint finish. And that's a cat. Hopefully the cat's tail can be kept out of the way for the duration of this video. Or not. Anyway, moving on. Let's see if we can move him there. Yes. Put your tail. So, in this particular generation, for the initial release of the K11C, there were two different trim levels. You had what Nissan termed as the contemporary trim level, which in this case was the Sport and Sport Plus, and then you had the traditional trim level, which was the S, SE and SE Plus. Now this one is apparently a Sport Plus, which I'm not convinced about, as I thought the Sport Plus came with alloy wheels. Moving on, we can see the treatment that the Sport got as regards interior. Notably for the 1.4, you've got the rev counter, the rather nice leather-rimmed steering wheel, and this interior that looks very like the Inspiration, but with a different pattern on the seats, going sort of hard on that contemporary theme. Apparently daring, original and impetuous. Damn, it's so impetuous. The big bold patterns of our contemporary interior concept creates an exciting, distinctive style that will always add an extra ray of sunshine to your day. Yes, yes it does. And this is the interior for, I don't know what this one's for. Judging by that mirror switch, that would be the SE Plus, which had a rather nice, more sombre pattern on the door cards and the seats. Also had a bit of emphasis on the fact that Nissan were indeed a web presence, or had a web presence back then, on that rather nice Apple iMac laptop of some description. You also saw the beginnings of the phasing out of the actual cigarette or cigar lighter and marketing it as a 12-volt socket. 5-door models in certain trims came with that convenience hook. All models came with the bottle holder in the door, and I think seat pockets are available on certain models. I know my SE has seat pockets, but because I've got 3-door, we do not have the convenience hook. known on the N16L mirror as a curry hook, because you could hang a curry on there and it wouldn't spill, which was good. So we'll go on here about the general manoeuvrability of the car. For some reason we've got a Nokia 8110, I think, in the corner, which was quite a trendy phone at the time. Some more shots of the vehicle. Also got a bit of features and explanation about the mirrors. Now oddly, I don't have that panoramic section, so even though my car was supposed to have been covered by this particular brochure, however I do have the rear park system, which was an optional extra, which is very useful, but not really required because the vehicle's got such excellent all-round visibility. Now, the car itself is a design that sort of dates really from the late 80s through to the early 90s, and was released in 1993 and then continually updated. And it was still, it was still able to pass certain safety regulations all the way up until 2003. And it's no surprise that the car was actually on the market for a good 9 years. It was ahead of the competition in many respects and stayed ahead of the competition when it was replaced by the K12. The K12, you could say, was an improvement. Some say it was not an improvement. But it certainly, sort of added a different flavour to things and sort of took the brand on a bit further. The K13 was a disappointment. The K14 seems to be a return to form. I mean, they've really got it wrong with the K13. I'm really not sure what was quite going on there. The only thing I can think of is cost cutting and Renault trying to force people into the Clio of that generation rather than the Micra. I'm not sure, but it does sort of seem that with Renault ownership, the quality overall has gone down, which is a shame. I mean, you could argue that the K11 was the last sort of product with the traditional Nissan quality that was actually built. Reliability is not as good as it used to be, in my humble opinion. One thing that the car is, certainly the K11, is it is a bit of a driver's car. You do have really good communication with the road and you can chuck it about quite alarmingly. For a small car, having a multi-link beam setup with a panhard rod, and in total I think it's 5 links in total, is pretty impressive when a lot of cars of this sort of generation literally just have a beam rear axle and no additional linkages, panhard rods, etc. You can really sort of tell, I think it does feel very well planted at the back, and something that I've noticed on a lot of smaller cars is under heavy braking the back tends to go very light and almost sort of shimmy, whereas on the K11 it stays very well planted. Also in cornering, you notice on a much smaller car, on a small car with just a sort of a standard beam rear end, that if you push hard and you lift off, you do get a certain amount of lift off oversteer. With the Micra, it all feels very neutral. Some people say that lift off oversteer is quite pleasant. It can be in certain situations, it can be very useful, but also a sort of a neutral feeling is also sort of in some cases nice as well. It does sort of feel more controllable. And this is interesting, 5-speed manual or NCVT gearbox. Now by this time the NCVT had been replaced by the HCVT, which had a more conventional hydraulic torque converter set up rather than the powder clutch. And in my view, generally a little bit easier to get on with. I just have to worry about fluid changes, I don't have to worry about brushes or anything of that nature. So we can actually see that the Sport doesn't come with air conditioning as standard. That was an option. However, the SE, which I have, does come with air conditioning. Also states here it's got a 60/40 fold-in rear seat, which I don't have, which is bizarre. So it's sort of almost like my car is a mixture of old trim into a newer generation body. And I've seen that a lot on other SEs. An interior upgrade is on cars at some point for me. Then we go on to the various options that we can get. Accessorise. There's rather nice, rather useful roof bars, which obviously you would use if you had a surfboard. That seems to be where generally sort of saying you should use it for. Got more stylishness going on there with the multicoloured fingernails of that lady's hand. Also got the mud flaps going on. You could get the mud mats and flaps, I believe, was an option package you could have, where you could have mud flaps, but you've also got a set of interior mats as well, hence known as the mats and flaps option. Rather amusingly coined. You could also equip your Micra with a compact disc player, which was nice, or a rather snazzy rear boot roof mounted spoiler. Very tasteful. Now, I have pretty much seen every single one of these alloy wheel styles except number 3, and what a treat it would be to get hold of number 3. There's rather snazzy four-spokers there going on there. A friend of mine has got set number 1. Set number 1 is known as the Topaz. Set number 2 is the Zenith. Number 3 is the Quartz, and number 4 is the Cosmic. And then we go on to the range of trims and the range of colours, which is always nice. So we've got the S, which has a rather basic pattern setup. The SE, which has this rather nice pattern, which I don't have actually. I have a completely different earlier style. SE Plus, which is rather nice. Got this rather plush velour sort of pattern. Also got the colour choices available on each model. So the Sport is available with the majority of colours except Burberry. Well, actually, yeah, except Burberry, which is odd. We've got the Sport Plus, which has this contemporary style, which is different to the contemporary style used on the Sport. Colour-wise, we've got Arctic White, Pearl Black, which looks very nice, Flame Red, China Blue, which is one of those like it or hate it colours, Burberry, Intense Blue, which I rather like, Ocean Blue, which is nice, Lava Red, another nice one, Silver, which I quite like, looks a nice, clean, simple colour, but it sort of looks quite effective, Marine Green, which is very nice, nice dark green, and interestingly, Black was not available until November of 2000. Obviously the M denotes a metallic, the S denotes a solid. So the solid colours were China Blue, Flame Red and Arctic White. A little bit of history about Nissan there, going all the way through. Oh, incidentally, the Micra won Car of the Year in 1993, along with 12 other major awards. And in 2000, you can see this little thing here, Nissan's Advanced Future Electric Vehicle, which does seem to have a lot of styling cues, which appeared in the K12. And in 1999, the millionth Micra is produced in Sunderland of the UK. Oh, not quite finished yet. Got a bit of information here about the Nissan family. And we've obviously got the Micra, the Almera Tino, Primera, the weird and nobody liked it QX, but I'm sure it was a very good car and I think it actually was. The Serena, which was hopelessly outclassed. The Torano 2, which had a companion in the Ford Maverick. The Patrol, which was utilitarian but incredibly effective. And the Skyline, which was just unbelievably effective. And we've got a little bit of information here. we can read behind the cat's tail. Bit of information about how Nissan are dedicated to quality and after-sales support. And then we got a bit of information about various things, including the dimensions, which is always a useful thing to have. The fact that it had an audible fuel warning, which is good. And then some information about the engine and the power and other various figures relating to that, including weights and, quite importantly, performance. On the 1 litre CVT, 0 to 62 is 18 seconds. I never bother to try to get to 60 that fast, there's no point. It is a slow car, and there's no point in trying to pretend that it isn't. However, it's entertaining despite its slowness. One thing they actually did on the facelift models was they actually got rid of the rear disc setup for ABS. So ABS actually has disc fronts, drum rear, and ABS, certainly on my particular version, was an option. And there we go. I have another version of this brochure from, I think it's 2002, so we'll be taking a look at that. It's mostly the same, but there are a couple of differences relating to colour and also those contemporary trim levels, which I think they changed every year until the end of production. So, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, and also consider subscribing for more upcoming fascinating hobbies. And also thank you to Blackie, who, as it is very hot outside, bless him, is looking quite hot and bothered. Thanks for watching.